Hey guys, this is the second video of a two-part animation thing, where the first part talked about how where I'm coming from with my animation and my background on it, and the second part is my philosophy, my view, my perspective on animation, and I open up some. I have found some interesting ways to look at animation, and I think that there are perspectives that I like to share, and I almost think that they should be actually adopted into our culture of animators. I don't know. So yeah, let's get right to it. Okay, so the dictionary gives the definition of animation. It says the state. The first one is the state of being full of life or liveliness. Okay, and also, and the second one says the technique of photographing successive drawings or positions of puppets or models to create an illusion of movement when the movie is shown as a sequence. Okay. What is animation? Well, technically, especially based on the first definition, it's being filled with life, okay? It's movement. Animation is movement. When you animate a character, I guess it's a little bit more than movement. It's alive. But, obviously a ball isn't alive, but you can animate a ball. So I would think of it more as movement. But yes, life, that works. But the thing is, obviously, you reanimate a dead person, like a zombie. That's you're in that sense of the word. You're just simply animating that character. You're making it move. Okay, that's really what animation means, as far as like what it actually is. But the thing is, when it comes to an artist who does animation, it's so much more than that. So let's take this definition and kind of get a little technical with it. What is animation to an artist? Well, or what could you technically define as animation? So, and I want to express this theory to you guys. And any animators watching this, I think you'd be a little. I would like to think you'd be interested in what I have to say about this. And I think that this is the way it needs to be viewed, or at least the way I view it. There's two types of animation, two categories of animation, and 5 forms of animation. Okay? The two categories are this: active and progressive animation. Here's why I define this, okay? This is the reason I came up with these categories, because I got to thinking about animation, stop motion, traditional drawing animation, and computer 3D animation. I got to think about all three, and I'm just like, that's usually the only 3 we think of when we think of animation. But there's obviously more than that, right? Because I got thinking, what about puppetry? What about animatronics? Wouldn't you say that those are animation? And I don't know. I don't know what you guys' opinions are on that. For a while, I've always thought of puppetry as not really being real animation. It's just acting with a sock in your hand. No, I'm sorry. That was probably really insulting. No, it's a great medium. But I guess I always thought of it as just acting by moving a puppet, and I guess you could say that. But when you think about it, so is it animation? Well, here, let me tell you why it is. Let me tell you why it is. Because you're technically animating a character. You are moving that thing. And when I think of animation, I don't think of. I think of moving an object that originally doesn't have life. I think of moving an object yourself, a human being moving an object that is not alive, and making it look like it's alive, or can move on its own. That's what I think of when I think of animation. Okay? So obviously, am I animating my arm? Yes. I technically am moving. Yes, I'm obviously moving my arm. But is that animation? I just don't think of it that way, because I'm alive. Okay, so obviously I can animate my arm. But am I animating that puppet, which isn't alive by itself and isn't moving on its own? Yes, I am animating that puppet. So I guess that's kind of what differentiates what animate between your own movements and in moving something else. I think that real animation is not moving yourself; it's moving something else besides you that's not alive. So I think puppetry is a form of animation, and so is animatronics. It's the same thing. You're just using a remote control to or a program. You type in a program that tells it what animations to do at what, or I don't know how it works, but I think that those two are forms of animation. So you add that to the list. There's 5 forms, right? Traditional, stop motion, 3D, puppetry, and animatronics. Okay, so there's 5 forms, but there is a difference still between these 5 forms. These 5 forms can go into 2 categories. Because, again, why do we think of puppetry and animatronics as not being real animation? Why do we subconsciously, instinctively, just naturally not think of it that way? Why do we automatically think of the other 3 forms? Stop motion, 2D, and computer. Why do we do that? The reason is because I think when we think of animation, we think of multiple images being put in a sequence to make something come to life. But here's the thing. Again, technically, animating means to move something, another object. So, like I said, puppetry and animatronics are animation, therefore, but you're not using multiple images to animate it. So, what do you call that? You call that active animation. It is actively moving. You are actively moving. You're not having to move it a little bit, take a picture, move it a little bit, take a picture, or whatever of the 3 mediums. You're not having to do that. Move a little bit, take a picture. You're actively moving it in real time. Okay, you're not recording frames. You're recording seconds of video of movement. So that's why I call that active animation. And that involves puppetry and animatronics. Okay, and then the frame-by-frame animation, where you move a little bit, take a picture, move a little bit, or whatever, that is called progressive animation, because you're progressing, the scene, but with the frames, you're progressing each frame, you're moving, you're adding movement. So those are the 2 categories, and then those are the 5 forms. So the 2 categories. You got progressive, which involves stop motion animation with clay characters or whatever they make them out of now. 2D drawings, traditional animation, and then 3D computer animation. That's where those are progressive animation, and active animation is puppetry and animatronics. That's how I view animation. Now we can get a little bit more technical before I kind of draw this to a conclusion. You could be like, well, technically, acting, like I said, acting is animation. You're animating, like I said earlier, you're animating yourself. Well, again, I don't believe that animating yourself is animation. You have to animate something else. So, So animating yourself, really the closest thing you could call that is acting. Acting is human animation. But I wouldn't at all put it in the animation category, or even give it a category to itself. It is, within animation. It's separate from animation. It's acting. Some of you logical thinkers out there might really like this. Technically, playing with toys is animation, because you're moving an object. Think about it. It's just like puppets. The only difference with puppets is you can't see the hands. You can't see the audience can't see your hands moving the character. But playing with toys is actually a form of animation. But well, technically it's animating. I'll tell you why it's not one of the, I wouldn't put it on the list of authentic, real forms of animation. Here's why. Because in art, really, as a whole, I would say, in art in general, the whole point of expressing your idea through different mediums is to not show your hands, your workmanship, not to show your hands making it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to show people when it's done. Okay, you don't want to show them how you're doing it. You want to show them the final product so that it's clear, it's concise, they can see what you're trying to show, the idea you're trying to express, whether it's be through a painting, you know what I'm saying? Whether it be through a drawing, you know what I'm saying? So you don't want to show your hands, the how you made it stuff. You don't want to, you know, you want to be behind the curtain while your art form is in front. No one can see you, but they see the idea that you're trying to express while you hide behind the curtain, making it possible. It has to be believable. That's another thing. That's why, again, you don't want to show your hands making it possible, because you want to make what the idea you're trying to express believable. And you make it believable by not showing yourself. It looks like nothing has made it. You're not even thinking about the person that made it. You're only thinking about the idea that's being expressed, and you're only thinking about the drawing or painting or whatever, or piece of music. You're not thinking, oh, they were plucking that string and doing that. You're not focused on it. You're focused on the sound and just thinking, what are they trying to show me? You know. So anyway, the point is, it's got to be believable. You know, and it can't be believable if they're showing how you're doing it. You know, obviously, if you saw a movie, you know, and they showed the green screen, it wouldn't be very believable. So they hide that. So that's why playing with toys is not a form. It's technically animation, but it's not a notable form of authentic artistry, you know, animation in the arts, because your hands are visible. You know, you can tell a story through it. It is a way you can tell a story. You know, we're all kids at one point, and that's how we did it. But it's not a believable way to tell a story. Anyway, but the reason that puppetry gets away with it is because, you know, the hands are not visible. So anyway, just getting a little technical there, I think that that's really what defines animation, is because I believe as an art form, to begin with, you shouldn't show how you did it. You shouldn't show you making it. You need to be behind the scenes. So with that in mind, animation is first and foremost an art form, because you're not showing yourself. So that has to be one of the requirements. So all 5 categories fit in that requirement. They're believable. Animatronics are believable. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. You don't see someone standing off to the side with a remote control. You know, they're believable. You don't see the person presenting the idea or thought. You only see the idea or thought, so you're not distracted. You know, so I think that all of them, you know, that's a requirement they must meet. And again, another requirement is that it has to be moving an object that doesn't have a real existence, that is not moving on its own. So anyway, those are the different forms of animation. I think I've given this a lot of thought, actually. Sorry if I'm, you know, getting too technical or whatever. But I believe that there are 2 categories, active and progressive. Active is in the moment, you know, it's live, it's, so to speak, it's, you know, press record, okay, now move, instead of taking multiple pictures and putting them together, which is progressive. Active animation is puppetry and animatronics, and progressive is 3D, 2D, and stop motion animation. Anyway. I just wanted to re-emphasize that in my conclusion. So anyway, that's how I view animation. It's bringing a character to life. It's breathing life into a character. And one of the great things about Animation Mentor is that, you know, you may not find an animator within 100 square miles, you know, but so I don't always relate. I'm not always able to relate to people with animation, you know. I find myself being kind of the oddball to an extent, you know, not being able to relate very well. So anyway, my point is that when I started Animation Mentor, it was interesting to see so many people doing the exact same thing I do, that it made me feel a little bit more normal for what I do. You know, I'm not the strange person anymore. It made me feel like I'm right at home, like these people share the same ideas I share, and they believe the same things I believe about animation and how they view it as an art form. And so anyway, it was just interesting to see that. Alright guys, well that is it for this video of the 2-part animation thing. and I hope you enjoyed. And I hope I've given you some things to think about. And I would like to know what you think about all this. About animation and the perspectives on it and stuff. And if you think that maybe if any of this could be adopted as into our animation culture, as just on the whole idea that there's two categories and stuff. So let me know if you think if active animation and progressive animation, if that's something you agree with, and you think we should, it would be kind of cool to use that language in our animation culture, and to how many of you guys agree with that perspective. So let me know, and anyway, so hope you enjoyed the video. Talk to you later.